Welcome, everyone. This is Matt Cooper with Academic Analytics. We're very glad you're here. Thanks for joining. We've got an excellent program for you today. We're talking primarily about fostering collaboration and interdisciplinary connections. This is a summer research officer executive discussion. Many of you are from APLU universities and colleges, and many of you will be joining us in Nova Scotia coming up in a few weeks, and this is a prelude to a few things we'll talk about there. Just a few notes on logistics. Everyone's muted on entry, but we'd love to hear your questions, your input, your critique, your ideas. Put them in the chat and we can make sure that they find their way to the right person as we move along. First, let me welcome Carol Whitacre to the floor, former Senior Vice President for Research at Ohio State and a Senior Advisor here at Academic Analytics. Welcome, Carol. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Matt, and welcome everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning. And as Matt said, we're going to be focusing on fostering collaborations and making interdisciplinary connections. Now, our goal today is to show you the importance of having reliable data at your fingertips, and then more importantly, what to do with that data once you have it. So today we're going to be exploring the power of research partnerships with Joanna Groden, who's Vice Chancellor for Research at the University of Illinois, Chicago. Now, Joanna and I have some things in common. We worked together at Ohio State for a number of years, and we both come from medical backgrounds. And I think we've both seen firsthand the power of collaborations. Actually, I'm going to give you a couple of examples of collaborations between the medical center and the rest of campus, like engineering or humanities or social sciences. So some of the most powerful examples, I think, of truly innovative partnerships have come from widely varying disciplines. So one example I like to cite actually comes from a medicine collaborations with the English department. Now, you'd have to say those two disciplines don't have very much in common. But at Ohio State, we had a group of talented English professors engaged in something called Project Narrative, which dealt with storytelling. So English faculty worked with faculty in the Department of Internal Medicine to help them to tell much more compelling stories about their research and about patient care. So this helped not only with, engaging donors, but it also helped, I think it actually helped those internal medicine faculty better relate to their patients. Another collaboration, again, widely varying collaboration, was with philosophy and the Department of Family Medicine. And this was to actually work on an ethics project. So as you can see, there are lots and lots of examples of collaborations across institutions and actually between institutions. So Joanna is going to tell you about some other really important partnerships that UIC is engaged in. So in today's webinar, we're also going to learn about faculty retention strategies and search strategies using academic analytics data and how to be more competitive overall in today's environment. So Matt, let me hand it back over to you to give an academic analytics introduction.
Thanks, Carol. I love your examples. It's just another in a long line of examples of how a university is stronger together, as a university. And as I look across the attendee list here, I see many friends and longtime colleagues. Many of you are using academic analytics data already. For those of you who are not or are not familiar with it, I just like to give you a quick history here and a little context for today. So academic analytics has been around since about 2005. In its early phases, it was primarily for peer analysis and benchmarking. So questions you might ask are, how strong is our chemistry department relative to other chemistry departments of similar type or its peers? We grew from there to then begin looking at faculty equity and recognition strategies. You might say, who are the most under-recognized faculty in my campus? And what outside awards might we nominate them for, and having a data-informed approach for that. Over the last few years in particular, we've brought in more international data from this research officer community. That's been one of your number one requests. We now have that. Another has been looking longitudinally, so you might look at a particular data point for a person or a department or a college. That's a point in time, but the trajectory matters a lot, whether a department's growing, whether someone is on an upslope in their career, how a department may be changing composition or research strength over time. And we now have that too. Several of you are using it. And then lastly, a big focus of ours the last few years has been bringing in more nuanced data on collaborative networks and expertise and how people are connected to other people. Our biggest priorities this year, and this is where we need your feedback, are looking at industry partnerships, medical collaborations, and the research security. So what is that? We're looking at industry partnership data for research partnerships. We'll see a little bit of that today. We're primarily mapping the landscape to see who has connections across your university to different corporate partners. It's almost always more than any one person expects, and being able to see it mapped out clearly can really make for a stronger data-informed corporate outreach strategy. In the medical data, we're looking primarily at collaborations between medical and health areas in the general academic campus, mapping those, seeing where the greatest strengths are or where there are gaps where you might expect there to be connections and there are not, despite having expertise on both sides. And then lastly, we'll talk more about this at the end, research security and being able to detect foreign influence and have a proactive strategy for where there might be worrisome connections or faculty who might be in a position to be exploited by foreign adversaries. This is the language that the research community uses. There's a whole host of data that you can bring to bear on that problem to be more proactive and focus compliance efforts to better focus the time of your team. These are the three newest areas for research officers and where we most need your feedback. After today's session, we'll be following up with each of you in your offices to see what you need in this area, any critique or feedback you might have for us to make this a stronger project. So look for that follow-up. Carol, back to you.
Thanks, Matt. And so without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Joanna Groden. Joanna got her bachelor's at Middlebury College and her Ph.D. in cell biology and genetics from Weill Cornell. Joanna herself is a cancer researcher and spent time on the faculty at the University of Cincinnati, and then joined Ohio State, both as at the department level as a vice chair, and then as vice dean for research in the College of Medicine. And then in 2018 was recruited to the University of Illinois, Chicago as the vice chancellor for research, where she is today. So Joanna, without any further ado, let me turn the floor over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Carol, and thank you, Matt, also for this opportunity to share a little bit about the University of Illinois, Chicago, and how we here consider the role of academic analytics in helping us plan ahead for growing our research strengths that fit with our priorities here. As many of you may not know much about our school, I thought that I would share some characteristics that you can see listed here. University of Illinois, Chicago, or UIC, is Chicago's only public research R1 university. Our portfolio is approaching $500 million. We're, of course, always very hopeful to grow this more. And our research funding supports more than 3,200 projects. We're composed of 16 academic colleges. We have 95 bachelor's degree programs, 100 master's, and 63 doctoral degree programs. What I think really makes UIC very unique, we are an extremely diverse campus. Our students are more than 65% Pell Grant eligible. 38% of our undergraduates are first generation college students. And we really look at ourselves here in this very large and diverse city as reflecting the urban environment of Chicago, and also providing access to opportunity, both educational opportunity, and also for our patients at our academic medical center, an opportunity to access healthcare that is affordable and equitable as well. As you may see here, or you may know, our campus is also extremely diverse. We have no dominant majority composition. We're 35% Latinx, 20% Asian American, 8% African American, and 7% of our students are international. So therefore, it is a very inclusive community joined by a commitment to social justice and equity, again, for both healthcare and education and urban economic mobility. We are a leading center for urban education, policy, community health. And again, our campus is stitched together with a very strong and ubiquitously valued commitment to providing equity and focusing our programs on social justice. So we look at ourselves really as a different community from many others as universities go, but also one that has very ambitious goals of growing our community as well. And I think we'll talk a little bit more about this, and especially how we like to use academic analytics and the power of its data collections and presentation of data in informative ways. So like many of your campuses, we really believe that fostering collaboration within and without our university or outside of our university is important. It's important for us as leaders to really provide a community that fosters cooperation, collaboration, and really defining our communities then are integrally important to being successful. When we choose to focus, as we do at UIC, on interdisciplinary collaboration, Carol, I loved your examples from Ohio State previously. We want to do similar things. We want to enable our faculty to not only be successful individually, but to look up and out and find others who may really provide unique views of what common problems and questions may be. So I'll give you some examples today from what we can see from our partnerships within the university. As you may imagine, our College of Medicine uses academic analytics. It really has provided a very wonderful way of understanding the diversity of our own faculty, who works with whom, who's doing well, how do we support those faculty in continuing their trajectories of success. But we also really need to be aware of how data can inform bigger approaches and more ambitious enabling of our goals here. And so the example that I'm showing you here is one of our really huge areas of interest and opportunity, which is looking and considering health and how we engage in behavioral change for many of our patients and members of the community. And as you may imagine, and as many of you may know, understanding behavioral health and sustaining those choices and opportunities for our patient base is extremely important. So our academic medical center is composed of 7 colleges. Again, it includes social work, public health, pharmacy, dentistry, applied health sciences, and others, but also components of our broad university campus: engineering, psychology, communications, biological sciences within our College of Liberal Arts and Sciences for those last 3. And again, really enabling our strategic goals, our focus areas, their success, their funding is really what we're looking at doing here. So this is one way we can visualize very easily different nodes of activity in different places on campus. And again, those of you who use academic analytics now are also well aware of the power of these data visualization capabilities within the software of presenting data and allowing us to use it effectively. So let me show you some other examples. The University of Illinois Chicago is part of a growing alliance of Hispanic serving research universities. This HSRU alliance has very broad and ambitious 2030 goals for our collaboration. Our goal is to double the number of Hispanic doctoral students enrolled at our university, and also to increase the number of our Hispanic professorate in our universities. So our goal is 20%. Again, only imagine the pipeline here, the pathways forward, and how we need to continue to support and grow these interinstitutional collaborations as well. So not only do we think of our internal strategies for growing our interdisciplinary research, we really are hopeful to partner with other universities that think very similarly to UIC about enabling not only a diverse undergraduate and graduate student body, but moving those professionals and academics into the ranks of our academic leaders in all our colleges on campus. So again, this gives you a little bit of our context for wanting to really understand our strengths, the strengths of other universities with whom we work to accomplish these goals. Again, this is a very ambitious goal setting for the next 7 years ahead. So we want to be successful, and we use the data we have on hand to help us do this. What we want to see, again, as I've mentioned, is to really learn how we could be stronger together. And again, that together is within colleges, between departments, faculty. It's across our universities, not only between our academic health centers and our non-academic health areas, or health related, but not primarily focused in health colleges on campus, but also with other universities. So here's an example from looking at 3 UIC departments that have many common partners outside. These are majority pharmaceutical partners, industrial partners. Our examples here are our College of Medicine Pharmacology Department, our College of Medicine Biochemistry and Molecular Genetics Department, and also our College of Pharmacy Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences. And what you can see here is how our faculty share external partnerships, and also how our faculty are working within each of these 3 colleges. Knowing these types of relationship building allow us to expand our network by suggesting further networking and interactions between partners and our university faculty. So again, very interesting visuals that allow us to very easily imagine what we could do more strategically to find areas of overlap, common ground. And I think this is just a tremendously valuable ability of our academic analytics partners to really facilitate these types of growth opportunities. What you can also see is, and as you all know well, that we certainly not only want to enable the success of our departments, of our faculty, but also to know what the competitive landscape is. How well do we benchmark against other institutions? And again, what we're seeing here on this, with these images, is that the highlighted department here that you can see on the upper grid, there we go, thanks, Matt. We have a 70th percentile per capita research strength compared to other departments. This is an example of our, I think our department, our College of Engineering, but also that it really punches above its weight when we look at comparisons to other universities. So we might imagine then that we also want to be sure that we retain the faculty once we know how well they are performing. So the example is, again, a smaller department than many of our peer institutions have, performing exceedingly well as far as research dollars percentiles, but then also knowing who our stars are. And in the bottom graph, you can also see that we have many faculty, both professors, associate professors, and also our up and coming individuals who are above the others of their peers. And so again, we want to be very mindful about supporting these faculty, ensuring that they have what they need to continue their success, but also ensuring that we can retain our faculty here at UIC to enable our growth, our successes, and our collaboration in return in relationship to our strategic goals and our values as an institution in social justice. So again, post-COVID, I think all of you in the offices of research and leadership positions in research in the different colleges realize that faculty are moving around. It is a new post-COVID new normal. Our desire to grow is something we all share at most universities, especially in strategic areas, and therefore such environments, I think, have really intensified the competition for talent, especially for institutions like ours, where we have a more diverse faculty than other institutions already. It also makes our junior faculty and up and coming rising stars more attractive to competitive offers from other institutions. So how do we be strategic in retaining our faculty? And certainly identifying retention risks are very important. So again, this example here really shows us an opportunity to be strategic then in identifying and ensuring that we have rewards in place for our faculty, that we provide strategic support, opportunities for investment potentially for some of these faculty, and also engaging them with appropriate internal relationship building strategies to provide mentoring, peer-to-peer groups, and really providing interdisciplinary research investments centrally that would engage faculty in more attractive networks within our own institution. So again, we try very hard to be proactive to retain some of our rising stars and our well-established stars. Again, no different than most other institutions. I think what you can also see and appreciate well as you look at your own interactive networks, when Matt Cooper presented this visual to me, I was astounded by the network that one particular individual at my campus had established. This was a well-acknowledged leader within our campus ranks, but yet I was so impressed with this individual's ability to work with outside partnerships. And again, you can look at the productivity of this individual here. What is shown are articles, clinical trials, conference proceedings, as well as grants. And let me just say that the new College of Medicine module is very informative for really highlighting some of these very unique aspects for faculty within the colleges of medicine, especially in clinical research, clinical trials, human subjects research. Again, these are very unique capabilities for many of our clinical faculty. Again, many institutions are no different here, but the capability of understanding what our faculty do, what they do with others, is actually jaw-dropping when you actually isolate and look at the data that we can have in hand. So let me also say that this proactive, preemptive retention is extremely important. We prefer to have early and frequent interactions with senior leaders. And I would say from the Office of Research, this is incumbent upon us as well to not just leave our colleges and their leadership to deal with local environments, but also to step in and participate in the strategic plans, the investments that can be made across campuses. And again, it's engagement from all of us at all levels of research leadership and university leadership to really understand faculty and to appreciate them and to encourage their commitment to our own individual universities. Again, how we do this, data is very empowering. And the visualization, I think, is a very easy way to understand what we need to do and to help us prioritize our strategies and to engage with many of our unique leaders for whom their career progression is also important, always something to keep in mind. So again, as you all think about many of our questions and problems that I see that lie ahead for research officers, let me just review some of the questions here. Everyone is busy, not only our faculty, but certainly our deans, our department heads or chairs, our research leaders in different places. How do we convey here centrally at universities the urgency of problems that haven't happened yet? So often in everyone's busy lives, we don't really have time to think ahead. And so engaging with tools that really enable our capacity to see problems that could happen, that haven't happened, is important. So let me just really put a flag by that one. How do we have conversations at our universities with others so that we can identify for them what may matter most? Again, when you meet regularly with deans of your colleges, again, these are the types of data when you bring them in hand that they really appreciate seeing and then using. How do we create funding models that really mobilize the partners across our campus who have local communities which are instrumental to retaining faculty in productive home environments? How do we really develop strategies to retain our most valuable and up-and-coming faculty, and also to recruit new faculty to our institution? And how do we also pay attention to nominating faculty for key milestone awards? Again, the appreciation that we all show for our faculty when they are successful is absolutely vital to retaining our faculty and also enabling their successes in continuing to apply and win very competitive award opportunities that sit out for them. Not only personal awards, but also the continued awards for supporting their exceptional research programs and collaborations. I think also, as we think about how to grow research networks at our own universities, lastly, a word about search strategies. Sometimes in strategic planning, we'll identify areas that we feel would be instrumental to focus on for our unique university communities. How do we identify effectively our search strategies to then identify those individuals we'd like to have join our projects and communities at our own institutions? And again, using the data within academic analytics has provided us very valuable ways for identifying some of our partners in our own collaborative networks. It's always a good starting point for our faculty searches. How can we identify faculty at other institutions who may be interested in joining our institution that we may not yet know about, who may already work with our faculty, or who we would like to see work with our faculty? How can we target and place ads for faculty jobs? This is becoming, I think, a less adept strategy to waiting to see who answers your ad, who applies for it. And I think all of us really want to be more strategic in growing our departments and our research networks. This makes far more sense than waiting to see who drops in our lap, who wants to move to Chicago or other large cities or places in the United States. Again, being more proactive about what we can do as research leaders is always instrumental. And we need to have more powerful strategies to be able to accomplish all these different goals. Identifying our key PIs, looking at proactive retention, looking at investments that enable further success for our talented faculty, and then developing more aggressive and personalized search strategies that really enable us to be more competitive. So many reasons to look at data and its power, and really to push forward to grow those strategic areas that I know each of your research institutions has as well. So Matt, I'm going to turn this back over to you and to Carol, and we can consider what our audience would like to ask and learn more about.
Great. Thank you, Joanna. I have several questions here. Let me pose some of them to you both. Joanna, first to you. I have a question about a lot of this focused on supporting those faculty who you might characterize as stars and high producers. But are there also ways to help support maybe faculty who are struggling, or who may be under-supported, or don't have a clear home there? Your thoughts there?
Oh, sure. What a great question. Again, we just don't cater to the stars. We want to make stars out of many of our faculty. When you bring people in as junior faculty, there are a variety of outcomes for sure, but in order to really address how we can do better, I think for mentors and establishing mentor groups within colleges and local environments, these are really key ways to identify faculty who are having a harder time, perhaps who aren't as outgoing, or perhaps haven't met as many people. I think, again, mentors and leaders can really look at and work with faculty to identify more partners that enable more competitive research strategies. So those are great examples. And again, I'm a big fan of mentors at all ages of careers, let me add. And again, one very, I think, fraught area is for faculty who are applying for their second sets of research funding from external sponsors, faculty immediately after promotion and tenure. These are all areas notoriously for people stepping out or back. And again, it's attention in local communities and broad communities at universities that can enable their success.
Carol, any thoughts there? Oh, Carol, you're on mute.
So I would just echo Joanna's thoughts on mentorship. It's so important. I think that that faculty, especially junior faculty, have a mentor. And I think on one of the slides showing the career progression, you had some senior faculty circled on there that would be great mentors really for, junior faculty. Yes, right there. And, they are within the same unit, they understand the goals of the unit, the goals of the institution, and would be great. Mentors are obviously very productive.
Another question here about setting ambitious goals, say doubling research expenditures or a high growth target. Joanna, let me first ask you questions about how to set realistic goals, how aggressive to be, and what are some good ideas to really spur that growth?
Well, again, I think having a strategic plan, many of you, especially at public universities, can relate to the reality that we can afford some things, but not everything. And then being strategic in those areas where there are strengths already that we can grow more readily. Again, these are nodes for attracting new faculty, nodes for attracting junior faculty and hiring them when we have searches, and then also providing investments. Those can come in the way of opportunities for pilot funding, for bridge funding, to really grow areas. And then also, and I can see this in some of the questions in the chat also, the strategies that build, that bring faculty together. There are ways to do this with offices of research development. Our leaders in our office here will often facilitate workshops will send opportunities for targeted research RFAs or new funding programs from many of our federal sponsors or foundations. These are ways to really support faculty in directed ways when you know what people are working on. And so again, we've also at UIC hired external facilitators to grow specific areas. Certainly data science is a great area to grow that's immensely diverse. And so with some focus in some of those studies, we can use facilitated workshops for a day, workshops over a series of a couple of weeks. We can target seminar opportunities as well and have people invite external speakers. These are all really helpful ways to facilitate strategic areas to bring faculty together.
There's a question here about how to make sure the voices of junior faculty are heard in the ideation process for new interdisciplinary initiatives. Joanna, thoughts there?
Again, junior faculty, I think are, especially the post-COVID era, it was a very hard time to really start research programs. It's very important that we pay attention to certainly all our faculty, but I find junior faculty are very vulnerable. And again, some of the comments in the chat speak to this as well. Again, there are increasing demands on all of us for compliance and regulatory mandates. I think, again, for many of us, staff turnover in administrative positions has really impeded the support networks that are necessary to facilitate and engage new faculty to any institution, but to large publics as well, that really used to provide support. And so again, we really need to address many of our new faculty and junior faculty very locally and very specifically in ways to understand what their challenges are. And again, as Carol has mentioned, and as many of you know, having not only a single mentor within departments, but also a wide mentorship committee is really invaluable for promoting success in very unique ways for an individual. It's not only about that individual's discipline, but also what challenges they may face in their role at a new university.
So one strategy I'd like to, kind of explore is having research officers put a little bit of seed money out there for collaborative research projects. I find that faculty are amazingly creative when it comes to, these interdisciplinary connections. And if the goal of the program is specifically interdisciplinary, I'm always amazed at what faculty can come up with. And frequently it's not possible to, really to support every single application that comes forward. But the important thing is starting the conversation, and there are sometimes other sources that can be utilized if you can't fund everything. But a little bit of money in the center of the table creates some amazing opportunities for going forward for interdisciplinarity. And I think, and that really, and I think incentivizes some junior faculty often to come forward.
Carol, on that topic, I see just from the people who are on the line here, I see some offices who have used the data to do targeted invites. There's a broad invite, a broad call you might put out, but if you have research development staff, particularly if you're on a large campus, doing a kind of targeted specific invite for them saying, so-and-so we see you're working in this area. Here's an opportunity. It could be great to advance your own career, putting a lot more personal attention into it. It's possible if you have good data to focus your efforts and to really know a lot about individuals.
Yeah, great point.
It does. I also think our research development scientists are really wonderful assets. They can often work with faculty to prepare for submitting larger proposals. So knowing if you say, for example, to target NSF career awards, those are something that take a little bit of time to prepare. And having workshops and facilitating opportunities with small amounts of seed funding can be really valuable for helping faculty compete successfully for those awards. And also, I really am a big fan of more senior faculty and mid-career faculty to meet and have workshops for junior faculty. They share details about how hard it was and how often they were rejected as PIs of proposals that they put in, and to develop that sense of resilience that you really need to have when you write proposals. You get critiques, you go back and try to improve what you do. So those storytelling, sharing the journey of getting a little more senior in the hierarchy are really important. So those community networks, again, are invaluable. And identifying those leaders at mid-career also, who have the capacity to really to help junior faculty by sharing their experiences are really important. I also think the work-home balance is something that can really benefit in these mentoring networks. Certainly, it's always a challenge to add new children to family units. And these are very stressful times to do that during COVID. With isolation, a lot of our faculty with elementary aged and older children also struggle with the commitments that are required for parenting in the COVID years. So again, that resilience building that we can do is very important in those workshops. And so, again, it's knowing what your community can offer and asking people to turn around and give back to the generation before. And I like that very much. And then from the top down, for us to provide seed funding, as Carol mentioned, is also a really wonderful incentive to put things together, or just providing meals, lunch, coffee, strategies, and celebration of success. All those things are important.
I think it's important to link a couple things that we've actually been talking about. So this idea to use research development staff, the idea to use senior faculty as mentors or as advisors in putting these proposals together really shows, I think, the support of the institution and helps to proactively retain faculty. So I think word gets out about, geez, my institution really cares about the grant I'm putting in. They want to support me. And that's endearing, the institution to that faculty member. So I think these are all sort of proactive strategies that can be very effective.
Joanna, you mentioned how difficult it can be to convince other administrators of the urgency of problems that haven't happened yet, and the sort of medium term to longer term retention risks is something that has huge consequence, but it's difficult to illustrate the urgency because it's not a right now kind of problem. Could you put a finer point on some arguments that you've seen be successful to really spur some of your fellow administrators to work with you on that front?
Oh, absolutely. Again, we want to be happy for our colleagues when they go to other places. And one of our nursing faculty members is now the institute director for the NIH Institute for nursing research. And so what happens when one person leaves is it starts to destabilize the rest of the faculty. So, would there be opportunities for other people to move to the same NIH institution, or this happens when faculty move from one institution to another? So again, knowing in advance who might be interested in leaving, what opportunities exist, it's extremely important to do that, and therefore almost backfilling or going back and working with leadership within particular colleges where change has occurred to really stabilize the faculty that are there, and to have more perhaps collaborative strategies for recruiting faculty into the college, right? Again, in strategic areas. I often offer to go out to dinner or to meet with faculty when they come to interview. Just that little bit of personalization and collegiality for me to participate in something is important. And so again, it's that constant, I think also providing support to our deans and department heads as they are challenged with not only retaining their faculty, but recruiting new faculty strategically. And for many of our rising stars, the goal of having more faculty that work in their area is important. So again, those partnerships, and also, you know, again, going back to data, where can we find other partners to enlarge those networks that that facilitate strategies to retain faculty? Again, it's the community.
Last question here is about finding those partners and broadening the scope of who may be included beyond the university, looking at regional partners or others across the state. Joanna, any successful strategies you've seen for that kind of multi-institution outreach?
Oh, absolutely. You know, for us at the University of Illinois, we certainly have 3 universities within our system. Again, there are many examples of this across the United States. And it helps us to also look at our sister campuses. That's the easiest thing to do, for sure. But also in Chicago, for us here, we have many collaborative partnerships with Northwestern University, Rush, Loyola, other institutions. Again, very easy for us to collaborate more locally. It's easy for us to meet. It's easy for us to forget that sometimes our best partners might be across the street at a different institution. But certainly what we've learned from the COVID pandemic is that what we can accomplish together and collaboratively is a lot greater than what we can do individually. And the example here in Chicago was certainly our vaccine programs across the city, in our FQHCs at other institutions, and our abilities to also engage in clinical trial and human subject recruitment through community engagement across the city were immensely powerful in making sure that we could respond as actively as possible, engage in research, and provide health opportunities for those affected in the city. And that was done with partnerships with other institutions, not just within our own, but certainly within the collaborations between Urbana-Champaign, Springfield, and Chicago. But then for us here in Chicago, engaging more locally with other large institutions.
Carol, anything you'd like to add?
No, I think Joanna did a great job. I can't top the COVID stories. That's phenomenal. And you do have some great institutions in Chicago.
We do, and they're great partners. And I will say, you know, another idea that we did collaboratively, we brought to fruition is postdoc recruiting in the city of Chicago, and other cities are now starting to do this. So collaboratively with Northwestern University and University of Chicago, we wanted to continue to recruit fellows to our institutions. We also thought ahead that, you know, people are often in personal partnerships, may not want to go to the same institution. And so we did group recruitments in strategic areas also here across the city. We did them virtually for the last couple of years. Again, it worked really well, and other cities are starting to do the same. So again, finding your your partners locally at other institutions is very enabling to accomplish sort of bringing in others into our academic pipeline that ultimately, hopefully for some, lead to faculty positions.
Very creative. Well, Joanna, let me say a huge thank you from our organization here too, and from the communities who are tuned in today. Thank you. Excellent examples, excellent discussion, very informative. What's going to happen next? We've got two things. For those of you who are part of APLU Council on Research, we'll see you in Nova Scotia in just a few weeks. We'd love to meet with you there, get your critique and feedback from these and other ideas. The things that you want out of the data really drive what we do. You need to know what you need and what your priorities are. Let me say a huge thank you to the core community and to research officers more generally. You've driven a lot of this the last few years, and I hope you're seeing the benefit of it. The last is research security is really picking up as a theme here, both here and I'm at your organizations, I'm sure, with NSPM 33 implementation just on the horizon coming out of OSTP next year. And we're developing some proactive tools that your offices can use to focus your time and identify the greatest threats and vulnerabilities for exploitation there. So stay tuned for that. We'll have a webinar coming up on August 2nd. Everyone here today will get the invite. And if someone else is the research security lead on your campus, feel free to forward it on to them. We'd love for them to join. And with that, let me say thank you to you all for your time and your thoughtful questions here. Have a wonderful day and a great summer. Bye-bye.